Amazon's new robot, Vulcan, doesn't look like a person or move like one.
This is the robotic gripper. This is the hand. These are paddles that can squeeze the item.
But it's doing a job that until now only people at Amazon could do, stowing thousands of items into bins.
Our hands are one of those most amazing parts of our bodies. And it's that physical intelligence, that physical AI that we're trying to give to the Vulcan robots.
While other robots rely on cameras, Vulcan is Amazon's first robot that's able to feel the items it touches, meaning it can handle way more items than past robots, choosing and placing them accurately.
So on a single shelf, you might be able to create a certain size space, maybe for a dog toy, but not for a basketball. The robot is doing that assessment.
So as Amazon empowers some of its 750,000 plus robots with more and more skills like ours, is Vulcan the robot that could finally eliminate the need for Amazon's human workforce?
There may be a reduction in workforce, but no, the workers will still be needed and the workers will be more efficient.
We went to Spokane, Washington to get the world's first look at Vulcan, fully in use on the warehouse floor, and ask its lead creator exactly how it works, why it's a game changer, and what's stopping robots from replacing all the people at Amazon warehouses like this one.
Welcome, Patrick.
Welcome to Technocracy.news. Yes, indeed. This story involving Amazon, Amazon has declared this is a fundamental leap in robotic technology. That's the reason I'm showcasing it here, because there's no hands in this device that they've invented, but it has a human-like sense of touch, which means it can sense the pressure that it's applying to pick up soft things like Q-tips or whatever, and hard things like basketballs, etc. And this is a breakthrough for them at Amazon, and this may be the technology that basically will obsolete all of the workers at Amazon, certainly a bunch of them again. And you have to understand, Amazon is already automated with robots. Unbelievable how many people they've displaced over the years. But this new technology is going to be a blockbuster, I think.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's far off to where most of the warehouses and Amazon, big corporations are fully ran by robots.
Yes. And what does this mean for the workforce? Well, that one apologist for probably Amazon that said, well, there'll still be room for workers, not many.
Yeah.
But at this point, you need people with to oil the gears.
And, service.
The service people who will replace things, make sure things work. But that's going to be a minimal force, labor force at that point. Obviously technical, yes, but nevertheless, all of the workers that do all the repetitive work, they're going to be gone.
Mm-hmm. And
do we want this? You have to ask this question. Do we really want to obsolete all of these jobs? And, you talk to the people at Amazon who basically don't like the way their jobs are anyway, but they get a paycheck at least, right? And you'll hear routine complaints like bathroom breaks. They're monitored on every move they make, and if they don't make the right move, the buzzer sounds, and they're scolded for being behind in their task list or whatever. Well, it's a really draconian place to work. And these people at this point that are setting us up for this surge of AI and robots, these people are looking basically at reforming all of society to be run like an Amazon warehouse. Just think of the possibilities. I don't know about you, but you can't imagine that anybody would have a buzzer on you.
Yeah.
with all of the stuff that you do in your studio, and where you go, and when you eat, and when you take a nap or whatever, it's totally oppressive.
Yeah.
But people put up with it because they need a paycheck. Well, if they don't have a paycheck anymore, then what are they going to do?
Yeah, I was about to say, what are all these people going to do once they are out of a job? And a lot of these people, they're living paycheck to paycheck, like you said. They're doing it for the paycheck. So, I mean, are they going to be dumped out onto the streets? And then,
that's about it. That's about it, honestly, because people who, let's face it, people who, and we need them. I'm not going to say that we don't need them, but people who work in a warehouse in the first place, they're at their skill level at that point. They're not programmers. They're not executives. They're not entrepreneurs. They're worker bees in a warehouse that demands repetition, and but nevertheless, they're doing that job and they're suited for it.
Mm-hmm.
What job, when you're done working at a warehouse, what kind of a job are you going to be suited for outside of a warehouse?
Yeah, without at least a year or two of training or going back to school for something which they can't afford.
Exactly, and maybe some of them just can't cut it anyway because they've already made their life choices to be a worker in a warehouse.
Yeah.
So, and that's no shame either, by the way. All these people that work there, just normal people like you and me, but they're going to be cast out the street eventually. And so Amazon is on this tear to fully automate their warehouses top to bottom. You can just see the handwriting on the wall, and they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop because they're exporting their technology to all the other warehouses in the world, including even down to the docks that receive the shipments, the containers, all the way through to Walmart and Costco. All these people who run these huge warehouses. Well, they're going to be under this same type of technology. And this is just one area, too, by the way. We're going to discuss others, but this one's really scary.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, the impacts this is going to have going down the line as well. I mean, with all these people being dumped out on the streets, it's not just going to affect them. It's going to affect everyone because they're going to have to, I'm sure a big majority of them are going to have to resort to theft and crime to get what they need to survive. I know. It's just the reality of it.
I know. I remember when Henry Ford invented the assembly line in the first place, early 1900s. He said he wanted to reduce the price of an automobile so that everybody could afford it, including the people that worked for him, right? Mm-hmm. And so the wage that got paid, actually, it was enough for people to afford a car. So people bought his cars along the way. And so now the workers are being displaced. Who's going to buy the stuff from Amazon at this point? There's nobody will have any money to buy anything from Amazon.
Yeah.
So the tables have turned on us.
And this is why Elon has commented many times on the need for a universal basic income with AI coming in, which, why don't we just not replace all the workers and keep the economy rolling and not replace everyone with robots so that these companies can make more of a profit?
Yes, I think that the term is a Gordian knot. That's a type of a sailor's knot that can't be untangled, and they're weaving this thing as we speak, not understanding that it's going to be it will destroy society in the end. And then what are they going to tell us at that point? Well, oops, we miscalculated. Sorry. It's like, no, you can't do that, but Well, let's go to this next story. This continues here. I'll tell you what, crazy stuff.
All right. Next story is Musk promised budget cuts, but stole all our data and delivered a, help me here, panopticon instead.
Yes, you might remember that's the type of a prison that has a control center in the middle, and it view everybody around the circle, right, for all the cells and stuff, so they can all be spied on, I guess. We need to talk about this after the break as well. This is a big story. This is a huge story. The first thing that Elon Musk did when Trump got into office on January 24th was to fire 17 inspector generals, the watchdogs overseeing federal agencies. Now, these IGs, they perform a special function in government. They're supposed to be the whistleblowers, if you will. When stuff is discovered that shouldn't be, they're the ones supposed to be independent to blow the whistle and start an investigation, right? Well, all of a sudden, the 17 of these people, and every agency has their own IG, right? 17 of them were replaced, just fired summarily, and by the way, it just so happens that most of them, or at least some of them, were investigating Elon Musk and his relations to the government. Well, talk about a conflict of interest.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't make this stuff up. It's absolutely stunning. And so, we got to go to the break.
Yep, we're at a break. We'll be back here in just a moment.
Better science leads to better outcomes. So by understanding the science in much more intimate detail, delivering a value product that is so different from anybody else.
So when we're stepping outside into seasonal changes, low humidity, sunlight, pollution, all of these things get communicated as stress on the top layer of skin that produces free radicals, and they're bad news for collagen networks. They're going to break down the collagen network and collapse that beautiful tensile strength of your skin. And so that's how we end up with fine lines and wrinkles. Bella Grace is really an elevated formula.
Better than the competition for very obvious reasons. First of all, we're delivering great collagen. We're delivering Verisol, which is the world's most studied form of collagen. So we're starting at a foundation that's really top notch.
So here is a lady today. She's taken the elixir, arthritis in her hands. She could not close her hands and make a fist, but after now being on the elixir, now she can.
The real breakthrough discovery, particularly with the cat's claw, it's a switch that regulates genes. There's thousands of genes that are involved in that inflammation process. When you have chronic inflammation, the problem is the switch is on and it's not being turned off. And so what's happening with the cat's claw is that it removes that little protein switch off your DNA, and the genes go back to a dormant state, and you go back to being, well, really healthy.
When at first we wanted to just have an amazing collagen ingestible product to be able to set the skin up so that my wife, Christina, could come behind that with incredible skincare, and that's exactly what we're still doing. What we weren't anticipating was the magnitude and just the vast amount of benefits that this elixir was going to do for people. Testimonies started flooding back in. About probably 30% of the testimonies were about hair, skin, and nails. The others were about people being able to walk up their stairs again, people being able to open their hands in the morning without having to do heat therapy, people being able to sleep better, athletes before and after recovery, and the energy levels that people were having. So we realized that this is so much more than just a collagen ingestible product, which it certainly is that at the highest of levels. We've even had So many people in the health and wellness world say this is legitimately, Brian, the number one, the best health and wellness product that's ever been introduced. And I would say probably the only negative here with Bella Grace and this elixir is that it sounds too good to be true, but it really is true.
Bella Grace Elixir, a scientific breakthrough with over 80 clinical trials. Visit melissahousebg.com to discover Bella Grace Elixir and the full range of Bella Grace products.
All right, welcome back from the break. Patrick, you left off talking about how Elon, when he took over Doge, fired 17 inspector generals of these agencies. I mean, including all the agencies that he's been going into and gutting. And these are the people who are supposed to be holding him accountable, correct?
They were. There were several investigations already launched against Elon Musk and his relation to the government. Now, I'm sure they investigate a lot of people, and it doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. But in Musk's case, a lot of agencies collectively say something's wrong here with this whole picture. So they have launched investigations. And Musk has pushed back on that publicly, like over the years. And but now he's in a position basically to silence his opposition. People can't figure this out, what's going on here? And then, consider all of the agencies that Musk has raided, if you will, including HHS, Social Security, Treasury, the General Services Administration. That's huge. The GSA is responsible for all of the real estate that the government owns across the country. It's trillions of dollars. In fact, we're going to talk about this in the next story. The Trump, as well as people like the Secretary of Commerce and Musk, are drooling over those assets that the GSA is in charge of. Then you have the departments of Commerce, Energy, Labor, Transportation, and none of the true $1 trillion of savings that Musk talked about in the first place, none of it has materialized. Not one thin dime, other than the fact the salaries are missing for those 17 as inspector generals and the other people who've been forced out the government in the first place. And some of them took early retirement, but nevertheless, they're gone. And what's the net effect of that? I don't know, but it's not much compared to $2 trillion, right?
Yeah.
So all of this nonsense that Doge came in to save us money as a current country, that was totally bogus at this point. So at this point now, every government leader who is resistant to Doge is being fired or resigned or being forced to resign. Even today, I think this last week, somebody else was forced out because they questioned Doge's role in stealing all the data. And so they just, they're here today and gone tomorrow. Too bad. But nevertheless, in the wake of this hubris, AI has seized control all of our data. Unbelievable, from all these agencies that I just mentioned and more, and have given it to companies like Palantir, Grok, that's XAI, that's Musk's organization. You think that's a conflict of interest?
Yeah.
He's charging millions of dollars to the government to process our government or our government data. And where's the outrage? This is absolutely crazy. You thought that that Hunter Biden's laptop was an issue. Holy mackerel! This is so over the top. So now the people that are identified even as enemies of the people, like Palantir, these are the people who are in charge of all of our data now.
Yeah.
And they're rolling that data up to get for the first time in the history of our country, they're rolling all that data together to make a government-wide surveillance mechanism that has everything in view at the same time. This has never happened before. For instance, your tax records are separate from your health records. That's always been the case. Those are called data silos, and they're there for a purpose. Nobody ever wanted to have your health records attached to your IRS records or any other record. There's no need for that. But now they have this wraparound system that will completely change the nature of our society. This is not what we want. We didn't ask for this. You know what? And my take on this is this doesn't take a rocket scientist, no pun for Musk, who is a rocket scientist, to figure out what's going on here. And without the repeated endorsement by President Trump, he says he loves Elon Musk. He thinks he's a brilliant guy, most brilliant guy in the world, the richest guy in the world. So without his repeated endorsement, I expect Doge would have been drop-kicked out of Washington, D.C. at the outset.
Yeah, I really think Elon's whole motivation behind the whole Doge thing had nothing to do with saving America money. It was about getting his hands on this data and being able to use it for Grok, and all his buddies be able to use it for their stuff as well.
Exactly. And let me tell you, if a guy can deceive America on this issue, you know that free speech is on the chopping block again.
Yeah. And I mean, it's obvious because his main goal, what he's been pursuing super hard, is a supercomputer. He's built a huge, the biggest supercomputer ever in Memphis, right down the road. But he's just going to throw that to the wayside and go, work for the government to save us millions of dollars? Or is he doing it to get data to go pump into his supercomputer? I mean,
I'll tell you what, I can't give you any idea because I don't control your studio, obviously, but it would be interesting to take all of your cameras and your studio personnel to that facility and mount a vigil with live cameras on them. Everybody who comes and goes, all the cars that come in and out and whatever, and just do a nonstop broadcast of what they're doing at that facility in Memphis.
Yeah. We definitely should go down there and do something.
I know. But anyway, yeah, this is really, we shouldn't be laughing about this. We should be crying. But nevertheless, I don't do that on air. When I get off the air, then I cry. Oh boy!
You want to jump to the next story?
Absolutely.
Are technocrats at war with the Federal Reserve and CBDCs?
I've asked this question a long time, and we talked about why Trump signed that executive order on day one, day two, banning our Federal Reserve from issuing CBDCs, right? Digital currencies. That just struck me as odd. Are they trying to declare war against the Federal Reserve? You wouldn't think so, because the Federal Reserve is very powerful in the world structure of things. And you have at the top of that pyramid, the Bank for International Settlements. We know how powerful they have been over the decades. No, but you say nobody's going to take these people out. Are the technocrats just smoking dope and think they can do that? Or is there another plan? Well, I'll tell you what. It appears that the administration got impatient, I think, that the digital currencies from the Fed were not going to come soon enough for them to suit them. to execute their plan to hijack all of the natural resources in America and convert it into digital currency to fund government operations from that point forward. You understand all of these acres that we're talking billions of acres of land, resource-rich land in America. This is our national treasure. This is our national asset. It's never been touched before. And now we see evidence, and we'll look at this video now, but we'll see evidence of this staged takeover of that national asset to digitize it, put it on the blockchain, and use it as money to spend for all these programs, including universal basic income, I expect. But except the federal bank is so slow with their research and stuff, they wouldn't be able to do this for at least 3 or 4 years. Still, they're just incapable of launching a project like this. So we have now this new thing with our cryptocurrency committees that are meeting in Washington, D.C. right now. Let's just play this video for people.
All right, here we go.
You get the idea immediately.
I flew down to Brownsville, Texas, right? And I met with Elon, and we spent 2 hours together. And I told him we were going to create the department Doge, right? And he did exactly that. He started laughing and he was happy. He goes, no, seriously. And I said, no, it's going to be called Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, but we're definitely calling it Doge for you. And he was just so lit, happy. He just thought it was funny. And that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
If you have the greatest capitalist in America and you can make him happy, that's pretty good. What is the balance sheet of the United States of America? What's everything we own and everything we have? I think it's worth $500 trillion. So then you say, okay, Howard, can you make 0.25% on it? Right now, if all of your assets are a giant mountain of palladium and gold and you can't move it and you have to just look at it and go, oh, that's so pretty. That's not going to help us. But we have land and we have minerals. So if we have 500 trillion and we can make 0.25%, if you give us a $500 trillion asset, can you make $1 trillion off of it? All right.
Hopefully.
I'm going to rename that famous department we just called it. We called it the Department of the Interior. Let's give it the real name. The Department of all the land and mineral rights of the United States of America. But the asset value of the United States of America, $500 trillion, the addressable market. Mm-hmm. Can Elon Musk and I come up with 0.25%, $1.25 trillion of revenues? And the answer is
wow.
There you go.
Well, sadly, we're out of time. We can't even.
We don't need to say anything.
Yeah.
People can't figure this out. There's no home for them.
Yep. Well, we'll be back on Thursday with another show. You got last words?
God bless.
Take care.